But anyway, he put his arm around me and said, son, he adopted me. And I was doing his mechanical. I was running the 3 high rises there for him as his main man on the mechanical. He said, time to get these head off that so-called politicians. That was back then. It ain't changed yet. Yeah.
Human nature changes very slowly.
Yeah.
Oh, it will change. When somebody goes to jail.
As soon as we put one more person in here, it'll really change.
Hey, we get a governor like they had in South Carolina, we'll have a lot of people in jail.
As soon as Christina gets in here, it'll be a lot of change. She's a damn. I mean, with it.
Excuse me. What if that's all there to go? Yeah, a little bit. I think he's going to say there's no possibility, and we'll have to do it. But he shouldn't be doing all this. That's the part that we're hearing all that we're still I'm out of here. I know
If you don't give us some, you at least kind of like get us on vacation for like a week or so.
I would love to have a majority on this. I'm not looking for a job. Everything, just like the sheriff department. They come get sheriff department. They just hope you vote. Because they don't even get what you don't. That's left for you. My third went for Frank. See if they could find that out. They should have won.
Can I get back to my corner?
Yep. Yep.
Be careful not knock you.
Have you got enough room back there?
Oh, yeah. Looks like we'll squeeze this gentleman out over this.
Yeah, also, my dad was born in 1893, and his brother was very bad. And he got killed in 1931. He was the one that the water line that the city had put in, he paid it off for 7 months. But he was the one that signed it in that way.
I don't know where
But you can't answer. I don't mean that question.
Alan is born that was our you like movies like Fantasy and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Y'all gotta be quiet, I'm gonna sick Lucy on you, you won't want that.
All right, turn loose and wake us up.
Okay, Gene, we pulled all three of these, and for Cohen and Parrish, both of them have indicated north on the other side of the envelope.
Do you know if that was written by them or by somebody associated with the
The writing looks the same to me, but the idea, yeah, because the writing is not consistent between these. But as I recall, what they indicated was in their statements that they would ask the student to write north or south on those. So basically, if we were dealing with three that we had no kind of information on, either from the school or from the student, this would, you can welcome to keep these if you want them, or you can give them. Is that a genius? You may have delivered me your copy here. I'll send one you got. So that seems like, just talking out loud, we've gone to three. We had three for which we had no information, we thought, either way. And now we're down to one. We have one, which is Kate Lundquist, and there is a notation of a ballot style on the bottom with an initial by a precinct official, but there is no indication that I can see. Comments, no. I can't read that handwriting, it's as bad as mine. I'm sorry, my condolences. But it looks like with this one, I cannot read an indication of north or south on either side of the envelope. So if I'm correct my math, if I'm wrong, folks, we had 44, we got rid of 3. We're down to, was it 41? No, we're down to 1. for which we had neither an indication by the voter nor by the college as to the residence address, the place where the person sleeps at night. So that's what we've got. Seems to me we've got to decide, one, is it adequate, or does, for that matter, would the law and the state board's indication through its memorandum require, is it our duty to consider the information from the college, which now has been verified, I think, under oath, and what the student indicated, or do we, and if so, we're dealing with one vote. If not, we're dealing with more than that. To determine whether or not there's probable cause to believe that misconduct, an irregularity, or a violation of the law has occurred. Anybody want to chat about that? If I've sized it up wrong, chime in. I'm always subject to making mistakes, like every human being. Yes, sir.
I do have a question that may be off the wall.
Maybe you're leaning against the wall. Can't you?
Yeah, maybe there we go. When I was in college, our school IDs showed the address on them where we considered our residence. And I'm just curious what Warren Wilson's IDs show.
I can show you.
No, I'm just curious.
It just says 701.
Okay.
I couldn't hear a thing you might say.
What did you say? It just says the 701 in your campus mailbox. Yeah. That's your Yes.
Okay.
If you asked any Warren Wilson student what their address was, they would say 701 Warren Wilson Road, including most faculty and staff that live there.
Good. Yes, ma'am. From the registrar's office, the student housing office.
It says P.O. Box 9000, Asheville, North Carolina, 28815-9000.
So that's what yours says, and hers says the street address for the P.O. Box. So it sounds
And I live in a dorm on campus, just to be clear. So I would have gone through the same process as every one that you're considering your vote.
So I guess the answer to the question is an ID would not have been dispositive of the issue.
No.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Now, if you got something to add that hadn't been mentioned before.
Well,
That's
yes
it, but
and no. It's been mentioned, but not quite the way I was gonna word it.
Well, let's listen and see whether we're
It has
plowing
to
the
do
same
with,
ground
it
again
has
or
to do
not.
with that number though.
Well, let's hear it, because if it's plowing the same ground again, we're gonna try to avoid that.
Okay, I
Go ahead.
understand. Now, I think this gentleman here showed, what it takes to deliver mail through UPS and the FedEx and all that, and the federal post office listed, I think that number that she gave, I forgot how many thousand it was.
That was on the, that was on the,
Yeah.
the student
Right.
handbook thing.
Right,
showed on the-
and that would be the address, wouldn't it? What they considered the federal government considers the address.
Residency is where, generally speaking, is where you spend the night, where you put your head down and go to sleep.
Okay.
And nobody sleeps in that building,
Okay.
as far as I know. So that, I mean, that's really what we're doing. Okay. Lucy, Bob, y'all wanna chime in on anything? They wanna make a motion, or let's hear what you think. If you don't wanna talk about it, that's okay too.
It's not that I don't want to talk about it, but I think that they still want to pursue with the hearing, I would go for it.
And tell us why.
Just from the indication of what he said, various things. I can't pinpoint them all because I'm not an attorney, but I can sense certain things, and I think you know from the past, I keep harping on the point of the fact that these people, they might be going to college here, but I know there are cases, and I don't know for a fact that there are at Warren Wilson, but there are in many universities where they vote at home. Now, Jacob Maiden, yes, they do. and they do both. My grandkids have told me this. And I know Jake mentioned the fact that if you do it, you have to go through all the other schools. Well, when I brought up kids, you set an example. When you set an example, particularly under a federal situation, you set it and they don't do it again. Nobody does it. Otherwise, they go to jail. That's the way I look at it. And they're saying nothing more than that.
Well, let me just kind of focus that to make sure I understand what I'm hearing. Are you suggesting that there has either been misconduct or a violation of the law with regard to these students?
I'm saying there's a possibility, because it does happen, is exactly what I said. I didn't say there was. I said there is a possibility. It might be remote, it might not be. I don't know the answer to that.
All right.
But I know it does occur.
Lucy, you want to chime in on anything?
I'm thinking of the right words to say.
Well, you want me to wait, or?
No.
Okay. What I think is that we got a duty to take the information that's available to us in an effort not to thwart someone's right to vote. And the information that we had was residence addresses provided by the school from the officer who is in charge of knowing where people live. Or we had an indication from the voter which district they were in vis-a-vis where they live, or both, for all but one voter. And with that being the case, and one vote, assuming that person even voted for this office, that doesn't sound like a violation. It doesn't sound like a violation of the law, an irregularity or misconduct, because everything that was done falls within what is our duty to try to figure out when we're dealing with how to handle a provisional ballot. That's my gut reaction. So my suggestion would be, if we're going to have to take action one way or the other, we're going to have to decide that there is no probable cause to believe one of those things has occurred, or that there is, and then schedule a hearing for a full, basically for whatever testimony as opposed to off-the-cuff remarks needs to be presented to prove an irregularity, misconduct, or a violation of election law. And the question is whether or not there's probable cause to believe that's happened with one vote. That's sort of my takeaway from it.
Yeah, you mentioned the one vote, and you keep bringing that up, and I understand where you're coming from, but I also made mention of what I said specifically, too. And there always a strong possibility that this, I'm not saying it happened, I'm not saying it didn't happen, but there's always a strong possibility from past experience through universities and colleges, this does happen. And that's my stand, and I'm not going to deviate from it.
Well, we may be in a position, maybe this can handle it two ways. If someone wants to make a motion that a reference to the district attorney be made for these young people, then we'll just take that up or that can be done in addition, I mean, as a separate item from the probable cause hearing. That's my general thought. So why don't we deal with the probable cause issue first, and then we can take time to deal with that after that, because it may be a moot point. I don't know.
Whatever you say.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I say something?
Of course. I mean, I've been waiting for you to say something.
I still, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm misunderstanding everything that's been said here, because I can do that. I feel like it's being said that these students voted, maybe not illegally, but they didn't vote right. And I honestly feel that they didn't. They voted, they gave the address that they always give. 701 Warren Winston Road. They didn't know any better. They didn't know they were supposed to give the dorm when they first signed up, I don't think. I don't think anybody's done anything fraudulent. I truly believe that. And I don't understand. I don't understand why you think some of this has happened. These kids, I'm excited that young people will come out and vote. Do you know how many years we've gone that college students have done nothing? This is exciting. Warren Wilson, UNC, everywhere. I think it's great. I'm happy for them to vote. And I don't think they've done anything that was wrong. And that is my opinion.
Anybody got a motion they want to make?
I'd like to say something, if you don't mind.
Sure.
To him and her. I don't think personally that any student at Warren Wilson set out to do anything wrong. I think what a lot of people are wondering about is what the main issue of this is, whether they're a resident of the state of North Carolina or a resident of the state where they come from. I think one thing it points out in this issue is that there's a very poor definition of residency concerning this issue. Now, if you go to the university system in North Carolina, they have a big long page on what they consider in-state to a student or an out-of-state student for tuition purposes. It has many things to be considered an in-state student for in-state tuition as opposed to out-of-state. And it's much more defined than what we are showing or what I've seen in these statutes of just where you lay your head. Because if you know, to be honest with you, if you have 25 girlfriends and you're spending 25 nights away, that's where you lay your head. That's not your residence. You know, there's more definition to residency, and I think that's what the people are looking for, is a better definition of what residency of the state is.
Let me read you something that these voters signed. I attest under penalty of perjury that I shall have been a resident of North Carolina, this county, precinct, or other election district for 30 days before the next election in which I intend to vote.
I understand what you're saying.
I'm not done yet.
Okay, sorry.
Then you run down 2 or 3 more things. You've not been convicted of a felony and that sort of thing. Then at the bottom it says, I have read and understand the contents of this form. Warning, if you sign this card and know it to be false, you can be convicted of a Class 1 felony. Signature and date.
Goes back to what I've been saying, is the definition of residency. The students at Warren Wilson feel it's one thing. A lot of the population, the reason it's questioned here, feels it's more than just where you lay your head. You know, and most students are only here for 8 or 9 months. They're not here for 12 months.
In addition,
they get their income tax.
In addition, there's also a provision that says I will not vote in any other county or state after submission of this form, and if I am registered elsewhere, I am canceling that registration at this time. Now, whether or not, we can't change the law here. And getting into an academic discussion of what somebody thinks the law ought to be versus what somebody else thinks the law ought to be, really isn't why we're here. We're dealing with, well, it may be, but that's something for a seminar or some discussion other than tonight, because we can't do anything about it. So, okay, who's losing the arms?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just, it is a state statute that regards what the gentleman was asking about it, and the question at hand, it's 163-57. It says all election officials in determining the residence of a person offering to register to vote shall be governed by the following rules, so far as they may apply. And just to continue reading, Article 11 of that says, so long as a student intends to make the student's home in the community where the student is physically present for the purpose of attending school, while the student is attending school and has intent to return to the community, or to return to the student's former home after graduation, the student may claim the college community as the student's domicile. The student need not also intend to stay in the college community beyond graduation or to establish domicile there. So I think
Which is the law.
That's the law.
I don't think Fremont heard the first part of that, because I think he was chatting with somebody.
No, I heard the last part of it,
Okay.
yeah, and that explains,
Okay, so that's what we're
Yeah.
dealing with here.
right? That's what I'm saying, is I think a lot of people kind of disagree with that. And
Well,
of course,
I
that's-
suspect you ask most of the students in here, they'd disagree with what you say, you agree with it, so we're not gonna go there. It's done. We're dealing with the law and not what any of us would like for it to be. So, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to say, I think it's a common misconception that as college students don't care about these local politics. We live, eat, breathe, work, go to school, and engage in community service and in the local politics here. And I think that our votes absolutely should count here. I have no idea what's going on back where I came from. I don't live there anymore. I live here. So my vote should be here.
Paul, you got your hand up.
Chairman, I'm sorry, I came in a little late, but I just want to clarify that today what's at issue is not whether or not these students are registered or can be allowed to register at Warren Wilson College, which we've already established is a state statute and is part of the law, but is to see that whatever ballots were cast are valid and will be counted towards the goal, towards the total and in which district they lie in. And I believe that's the question today. I just want to confirm that.
Well, we're basically trying to decide if there's probable cause to believe there's, one, been a violation of election. Two, there's been an irregularity or misconduct in what has occurred dealing with these provisional ballots and how they were handled, and we're down to one for which we have no information directly from the voter on the form nor information from the housing office on the list provided. So that's the way I look at that. Now, does anybody want to make a motion on it, or you want me to make a motion?
I guess.
I move that we find that there is no probable cause to that a violation of election law, irregularity, or misconduct has occurred. I do believe that she is a person entitled to protest under the statute as cited, and so I think we're, in effect, we can find that she is, but I move that, now elaborating on my motion, let me just sum it up. I move that we find that there's no probable cause that a violation of election law, irregularity, or misconduct has occurred.
I second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
2-1. We will be entering an order, a written order. It's not going to be tonight. But as soon as we can put something together, so there'll be something in writing that gives Ms. Merrill and Jim an opportunity to appeal if you want. And I have the copy, I think I do.
There's copies over there about a PM. That's what you're talking about.
I'm looking for the one that we found. I had it in my hand. You didn't already give it to you? There was one that we had no indication of the way as to where they was been in the night.
You gave me one, so I can't take it.
had it in my hand, but I guess I buried the paper. Gene, if you don't have that after the meeting's over, here, I'll try to get you. Okay, yes, ma'am?
This isn't relevant to the election, but just so that this community understands, the students at Warren Wilson do over 48,000 hours